let's get started with our session. What we're hoping to get is a roundtable kind of open conversation. And I'm Nancy Pierce, the HRS practice leader, along with Anna McNally, our payroll practice leader. So what we'd like to do is just have an open discussion to share ideas on human capital management, HCM, and that's really everything to do with people in an organization. And share what works, what doesn't work from your experiences. Might be an employee, maybe you're a manager, maybe you're HR or the payroll administrator, or maybe you're the business owner. So we really want to look at it from all aspects. So of course we're open to any topics. It's really not a solve your problems, specific issues kind of thing, but it's more, this is what my experience was like with onboarding. Gee, I wish it had been better. Or I really, was interested in an organization, but then I found out I had to give them a paper resume. Well, that really turned me off, So those kinds of things. So really recruiting and onboarding, what should this feel like and how easy can it be, really? Somebody might say, oh, we've used this other applicant tracking system, that's great. Employee engagement, that's really a big topic these days because especially the younger demographics really want to be involved with an organization. They want to be heard, they want to be engaged, they want to be rewarded for their input, and sometimes maybe an older demographics organization isn't thinking about those things, right? So getting some input on that. Time fraud, looking at it from the payroll perspective. Maybe payroll service providers are not meeting your needs, or maybe you're not, collecting the time properly. Just things like that. Maybe buddy punching on clocks. And then pay statements and year end, how to read them and how to prepare for that. So, trying to mixing up with HR and payroll. What about when you're looking for people? Because there's lots of turnover. We have the baby boomers leaving the workplace. What is that looking like for your organization? Are you prepared for that? Are you thinking, and you can't ask somebody what their age is and when they're gonna, you might know what their age is, of course, because you're doing HR and payroll, but there's no mandatory retirement. I personally am gonna be working until I die, and I told Joe that, but how do you prepare for those kinds of things? Do you have succession plans in place? Or is it just, let's just hope this person never leaves because they know everything about accounts payable and what will we do without them, right? So any thoughts about that from the people that have been in the industry for a long time? Are you seeing people that are leaving because they're retiring?
Well, not because of retirement, because the COVID thing?
Yes, yes, COVID.
So people are just breathing like inside out.
Yeah, so the great retirement or the great exodus kind of thing, there was a name for it, I can't remember, but you're right, a lot of people just said...
The great resignation.
The great resignation, thank you. And you're right, a lot of people just said, I'm done with this. And not always the people in their 60s. It was sometimes people in their 30s who say, now is the time to change my life, right? So then who's experienced that all of a sudden, well, of course you've got working from home. That's another good thing we can talk about. But how did you handle that when people are just doing the great resignation? Did people find that there was a gap?
Well, during the COVID time when we were working from home for 2 years almost.
Yeah.
So when we came back to the office gradually, a lot of them didn't come back.
Yeah, so what she was saying was that, of course, everybody started working from home abruptly. I think it was March 12th for me of 2020. And so working from home for a couple of years, and a lot of organizations are doing that transition back on a slow basis. And some people are just saying, I don't want to come back into the office. I don't want the commute. I like working in my sandals, my slippers, or, pajama bottoms, or whatever it is. So a lot of people are just saying, no, I don't want that. And they're just walking away from the job. Yeah. Yes. So how did you deal with the new hiring then? How did you look for those people? Because we got a good person here who's talking to us.
Well, we post it on our website, and
on your
also
website?
In the community, we post it out. And so people, like the younger kids who are just coming out of school, but we're getting mostly like the coming out of school fresh, like a university just completed. We're getting most of them now.
Yes, mostly from universities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so just
university
coming out of there.
grads.
So in a young, like 24, 25, in that age group we're getting.
Good.
But
Good.
they're, like, so we've been here for like almost 20 years, 30 years.
Yes.
So we have 3 different decade kind of thing, like we have 3 generations working with us now.
Very much.
We have in the 20s, we have in the 40s, and then we have in the 60s.
Yes,
The 60s
Yes.
are not going anywhere.
yes. So I'm going to
But-
take a second to put up the generations. So please continue, because I wanted
Yeah.
people to see that. So,
So, but we see we're recruiting a lot more of the younger one who's coming in 2 or 3 months down the road, they're just leaving work. And I don't know what they're searching for, but they're just not happy. Or I don't know what they're looking for, but they're just moving out, in and out, in
Yeah.
and out. So we're doing a lot of hiring and lately, quite a bit.
so you're finding that it's hard to retain a certain demographic or age group of people, right?
Yeah.
So let's just go to this one. So, you're definitely seeing then you're attracting people that are, well, pretty much the Generation Z, because I'm militantly Canadian, so it's not Generation Z to me, you're Gen Z. 26 and under, is that the kind of people that you're finding that were coming out of university? Yeah. And then in the job for a few months, saying it's not a fit
It's
for
not
me.
for them.
So what do you think that could have been done by the organization to retain them? And, attracting employees and retaining employees is huge right now.
So what's happening is because also we're nonprofit and the salary range is not as, the
Salary.
benefit maybe is better, I mean, good benefit, but salary is quite low, and I think they're looking for higher salaries, and that's one reason also they're moving out, they're going.
So there was low salary that they didn't
And
like,
then getting a lot of work working from home,
and working from home they wanted.
so for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and they weren't quite really probably at the age where they had kids to work from home, or some of them were. They wanted to work from home. I mean,
But even those who have no kids also want to
no
work
kids.
from home.
Yeah.
They want to work from home now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then what do you think, probably benefits probably wasn't a big factor for them. Maybe it was, but it wasn't at that age because they don't have kids
No,
yet.
they don't.
But was it employee engagement? Was, what were they dissatisfied with? If it wasn't salary and working from home, were they happy with that job, or did they feel that I can just say, going from working in an office to abruptly starting to work from home, even though sometimes I might have been annoyed by the noise in the office, but I really miss that interaction. And I'm not really that kind of person. Like, I like to be alone, I like quiet, but, it's that isolation that you had from working from home that was a detriment, really, in a way. But you don't want to give it up to go and work in the office.
Right, but our place is mostly like the community coming in, the new settlements,
Yes.
newcomers coming in.
Yes.
And then we have so many other programs that we offer, like settlement services. And when they come in, for them, it's not, maybe the older person, family come in, they're not ready to do counseling.
To which?
Like to offer counseling services and so on. Like they feel like they're not ready
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
So they go back more into administration. So I think they do the settlement service. They came as counselors from school, but they're not ready to do that.
Yeah, so not quite ready for that work environment. There again, we know that kids are coming out of high school, sometimes not equipped to go into university, and some are not even surviving university, and that's really what we're seeing a lot now. But they're coming out of university, and they're not equipped to deal with the working world.
But also one more thing is like they come with a degree, but then realize that they need master. So now they're going back to school to do their.
They're going back to school to get their master's or something.
Now degree is not enough.
They don't want to give up that university experience. I'm going to go back and do my master's, and maybe I'll get another degree. I think I'm talking about my daughter-in-law. Yep.
What also we
Could you maybe up a
realize-
little closer? Yeah, thanks.
What also we realize, these kids, they've been home for the last
Yes.
2 years. And communicating
Yes.
and being into an environment where everything happens much faster than they're used to,
Yes.
it puts them off the balance, and that's why they give up.
Yes. So really, they've been home a lot,
That's
right?
what it is.
And perhaps doing university from work from home, like from
And
online.
they cannot, they have a hard time communicating, and they find it very stressful.
Yes, because they're used to communicating like this on their phones, right? So when they have to be in a workplace and communicate with people face to face or by email, I know I've heard that people say, well, we have to teach them how to write an email because it's not a text. You have to say, hi, Nancy, hope you're having a great day, blah, 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 blah. and have your email signature, right? We're all used to that, but you have somebody who's texted all their lives, and even to their friend that's sitting in the back seat as their parents are driving them somewhere, they're not even talking to each other, right? So, but this is the difference in the demographics of how everybody's been, what their life was like when they're coming into the workplace. And how do you retain those people that you need? You need that new blood coming in, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They question everything. So, for example, you talk about the formality in terms of even writing a letter. They question to say, who says that's the right way?
Yes.
Who in their wisdom determined that this is the right way to do it?
Bingo. Good.
Right?
And we say, because that's the way we do it.
And they would say to you that that's how it was in your time.
Yes.
This is our time.
Yes.
So we set the rules.
And you know what? If they weren't like that, there would never be change in the world. We'd still be writing letters back and forth in business. Like, technology, of course, has this thing. But this is part of technology. They're like, why can't a text be done? And that's where we do a lot of Teams messaging now amongst ourselves in our company. Because that's more like a text, right? But do you have the paper, do you have the trail of that? Like, there's pros and cons to all these, but yes, they're coming in with their new ideas. And a story, this is quite an old story that you might have heard if you came to any Basque Connects in the past, is a fellow that came into a workplace, and part of his job was to file paperwork. Okay, after this is done, here's the pile of stuff you need to file. And, the boss was saying, well, you're not keeping up in your filing. He says, I don't understand why I have to spend all this time putting stuff into a filing cabinet. Why don't we scan this and have this online and get rid of the paper? Because you've got a storage room or a storage locker or a storage facility that you're paying how much per year for boxes of paper. If you pay me to go and digitalize all of that, you won't have to pay that, and I get, and I'll get a bonus. And they did that because we want those new ideas. We don't want puppets. And we look at, the silent generation there. That's kind of my mom's generation. And they were actually people who, okay, this is the way it was always done. We're just going to do it the same way. We're not going to have new ideas, right? And that's part of going through the war and things like that. It's like stability. But then you look after that, the baby boomers. Well, we were all hippies, and we were going to change the world, and we were going to wear corporate clothes, and and everybody sold out. But then there was a lot of new businesses came out of that, new ideas, and of course, new technology. But we have to embrace and respect them, but they really want to be listened to, right? Whereas I wouldn't go into a new job and expect to change anything. It was like, you tell me how you want it done, and then I'd see how it was done, and then, well, what if we do it this way? And sometimes it's like, I'm just going to do it this way. and that was, and if it didn't hurt anything and nobody, if it worked, great. But, they want their input, right? They want to be heard. But then if they aren't communicating very well, because they don't have those verbal and written communication skills, how do they communicate? And I see some nodding. Can I get some input of what is the best way to communicate, right? It's not, and especially if you're working from home, how do we get that pooling of knowledge? Speaking as a younger demographic. Not to put you in any of those slots, but come on, girls. Some input, just like what now would you like to see different in order to contribute to the everybody wants to contribute, right? Everybody wants to feel that they're helping to build something. We don't want to be puppets just sitting there doing the same old thing, right? Oh, she's running away with the microphone now. There we go.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a point about, I'm part of Millennial Gen Z myself too. So what I'm seeing when I'm hiring or when I'm getting hired, Gen Zs and millennials are not looking for a permanent job. So
yeah.
I would suggest, like myself and anyone else, do not try to retain them that much, because they tend to change jobs like at least 10, 12 times in their lifetime, like once every 3 years almost. And I'm trying to invest in my training plans, trying to train the new person that is coming in, and then let the other person go. I know it's gonna be costly at first, but in the future, it might be less costly to just trying to retain that person, giving them promotions, giving them whatever they need. Like spending that money on them, it might not worth it even in the long run. But sometimes getting a new person in, train them as fast, like maybe twice as fast
Yeah.
instead of 6 months in 3 months, it might be something that like companies should be redirecting to.
Yeah, so maybe having some online training that they can do when they come into the company, instead of shadowing somebody, they can do things online, knock those things off, hit the ground running, and be contributing right away. I'm still curious as to why people want to change jobs. I mean, generally, I think you change jobs because you're unhappy, right? No? So, because that's my generation. So they're changing jobs because they want a different challenge. So how can they not get that different challenge within? I mean, we've seen people that come in at DeBass and one position, and before you know it, they're doing something different. Oh, now they're into marketing when they were, hired at this. And being able to move through the company and having those different experiences. Of course, the company has to be of a certain size, but, is that something that would be rewarding to them? Yes.
So in small and medium-sized companies, you don't have that many opportunities to move up, or even laterally or vertically. You cannot move that much.
Yeah.
So they're essentially looking to improve. Or the other thing that I'm seeing here, I'm an immigrant, so I'm not used to 2-3% pay raise every year. So even changing your job from one company to another company, especially during COVID, there were so many pay freezes. They never increased any of the pays, and now doing the same job in another company, they're just paying more.
Yeah.
So it's just to that
So
point.
sometimes it's changing to get more money for the same
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly. You're
Yeah.
doing the same thing, you're just getting paid more. It's
Yeah.
not about not about different challenges or different jobs or even higher role. It's just about money.
Yeah. Yeah. So if they were honest and said, hey, I can go and work for the competition for $5 more an hour, will you pay me that and I'll stay? And assuming that they're happy and there's no bitterness built up or whatever, burnout happening and things like that, then you have some organizations that we're a cap, we can't pay more than that, right? And this is what you're talking about here, is that it's depending on the type of organization, not-for-profits, you can't do that, right? But then also talking about upward mobility, vertical climbing, I want to come back to that.
I think for the younger generations, it's also really big on work-life balance.
Yes.
So they really want to be able to enjoy their youth. They want to also be able to put time into their company, but they want that balance, right? And I don't say this to offend anybody, but work culture with generations before is
Yes.
very work,
9 to 5.
play after
Yes.
if I have time.
Yes.
Hang out with the kids when I have time,
Yeah.
right? And I think, especially now with us having to, I'm not a Gen Zer, but I'm a millennial, going through the pandemic, right? And starting your family or thinking about starting a family and just seeing how fickle life can be, I think they were already opposed to such stringent, do this, do that type of culture, and then to now have that happen, it's no, we have to put our foot down. We have to be able to tell our companies, tell our bosses that, hey, this might have worked for you guys before, right? But it's not working now because we have seen life differently. So I want to be able to live while I'm still whatever age, because hey, tomorrow something can happen and I'm gone. I
Yeah.
have my family left with nothing. I have not experienced the things that I want to experience, and I haven't even been able to tap into what could be my legacy. I don't want to be 65 and retire and then want to travel the world. I want to experience these things ahead of time, right? It also does come down to finances,
Yeah.
but that also ties into work-life balance, because if I'm working for you 9 to 5 every day, having to take care of my family, and I'm barely meeting ends, it's going to be a constant cycle of stress, of lack in all areas, right? And you're not able to provide, right? So it's experience, it's life balance, it's seeing the way that the world has shifted, that we're then trying to see, okay, it's no longer, like, you want to be loyal to a company, but you want it to also be a company that is efficient, that is able to communicate with you, support you, right? And actually help you do what you need to do and excel at the way you need to excel, instead of just keeping you there because they need the job done.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And taking into account that, if you do start a family and your child is homesick, that you have the flexibility to be there with them and not, have to, well, the old days, I have to go in the office. I'm not, I have to go in the office, and hey, grandma, can you look after the sick child? So, it's, and I have all these generations in my immediate family. So, I have a son and daughter-in-law who are in the millennial, and a daughter-in-law who's 3 degrees out of university. So one of those like, oh, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go, and brilliant. They're both brilliant. But my son started his own business because he wanted to have that flexibility. And I'm still a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. I'm like, yeah, don't text me like during those hours because I really can't. I can't have a conversation with you right now. And they're like, well, you should be able, because you can then make that up later. Like having the flexibility. And one of the things is that, people say, well, they're on their phones. Like, why are they texting their friends? Or they're looking at Facebook. Well, of course, they're not on Facebook anymore because that's like passé, right? So, yeah, it's only the baby boomers on Facebook now. But, they're on social media, right? And the employer's going, oh, I don't understand this. They'd even shut down, like a few years ago, shut down Facebook because of this. But they are also, the people that are doing that are the ones who will respond to that work email at 7 o'clock at night while they're out with their friends and hence think nothing of it. I had one client who said, in the HR system, I need to know if it's their home number or their cell number. And this was a lot of salespeople, young salespeople out of university. He says, because if I see it's a cell number, I can bug him at 9 o'clock at night, where if it's home, I'm not calling him at 9 o'clock at night because that's his mother's number, right? So, like, this was a young guy out of university who started his own business. Now, to me, that's like, you're impinging on my time. Like, do not contact me at 9 o'clock at night. How dare you? That's my generation, right? Whereas you're saying, well, if I need to leave at 4 o'clock, then I'm going to get my job done. Give me that latitude and help me get where I want to go in the way that I need to get there. Is that a good translation? To a degree? Yeah, okay, good. Anybody over here? Good stuff. Arlene.
Yes, we've had lots of challenges over the last, and I've been in insurance, and in the company we're in now, I'd have to say the common thing I've seen is a lot of them do continue to live at home. So in my generation, I mean, maybe they think we were workaholics, but I wasn't. When I first started working, I worked to pay for my social life.
Yes.
I wasn't saving. I was like, okay, we'll figure this out. We're going to get somewhere.
You work to live.
Yeah, I worked to live, right? So there wasn't eventually with time, yeah, I became more dedicated and found a career or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I just found we're seeing a lot of anxiety,
Yeah.
the level of anxiety.
And that taps
we've
back
lost-
into that, I know life is precarious.
Yeah, and it's almost like that. I think maybe they were raised with too much information, because I was much more naive and had no idea, until maybe I had a kid. I was like, oh, shit. But they're more aware, and I think that causes part of the anxiety, because we've lost more people, our young staff, because of anxiety.
Anxiety and depression is
Yeah.
so huge. I mean, I think if you took an honest poll of people in a room, that I would say 80%, 70%, what percent of people would say, I'm on something for anxiety or depression or both? It's just so massive, and especially since the pandemic. And people then working from home and not comfortable coming back out, to these environments. Yeah. Easily triggered, yeah. Yeah. But you're right, I think anxiety, and it's not just in younger people, is my point. And this is, I know we're not even listing the labels. We're not even listing the labels, Anna. I think, Christy, do you want to speak? Yeah. Oh, 5 minutes. You're not just waving to us because you want to contribute, Christy? Okay. Great conversation, but we're not dissing millennials, we're not dissing anybody, and we're also, we've used to go through the characteristics, but we can have a millennial who thinks like a baby boomer, and vice versa, right?
I just want to add as it relates to, you mentioned the recruiting earlier and the challenges. So what you find is that the younger generation also, they want to make more money but work less,
And come in not at the entry-level positions.
right?
Can't blame them.
Yeah. And if what also happened during the pandemic is that the COVID has really brought out the genius in a lot of these young
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah.
So they really don't see themselves going back into a 9-to-5
Yeah.
job.
And who could blame them?
Correct.
So, we got to look at this and say they're carving out a new path that we're actually reaping the benefit from. Joe is happy about having people working from home because this has happened. So we're getting the whole wrap-up sign. People are coming in. And thanks very much for your input. I hope this was inspiring. Thank you for those who were bold enough to speak and contribute. I really appreciate it because I didn't have enough to say. So thanks very much.